Hello, everyone. My name's Rob Stewart. I work with Crestline Funding. I'm friends with Chris, and he asked me to just pull together some ideas about home financing so that maybe you could learn a little bit more about it and be better prepared on your way into real life out of college. Anyway, I'm envious of your position. I loved college, and I'm happy you're going through it, and hopefully what I share with you today will be helpful in some way. So when you get out of college, people usually one of three things. They live at home, they rent, or they decide to buy at some point to buy a house or a condo. And in America, most people end up financing that purchase if they decide to buy a home. And they can do that in various different ways. So we'll talk about a couple of those and then move on. So, down payment. Usually a down payment on a new home is just a couple percent. 3.5% is the minimum, which means 96.5% would be financed. Now you can put more down, and that's just one strategy. But selecting the type of program to finance with is an important aspect. There's a couple different ways. One is fixed rates, variable rates, and lines of credit. So we'll talk about the fixed rate product first. That's the most common by far. And most people elect to use the 30-year fixed rate loan. But there's also a 10, 15, and 20-year periods. The 30 is the longest, and it provides for the smallest monthly payment. So some advantages of a fixed rate, which by the way right now are about 4.25%, is that the rate never changes through the ownership of the house. So you know exactly what you need to pay every month, and there's no mystery, there's no risk to it. You also have variable rates, which are a little bit lower. So you get a little bit better value in regard to the rate and therefore the payment on the house, but in exchange for that, you have some higher degree of risk because at some point down the road, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, or 10 years, those are your options, your rate would then begin to adjust. And that could lead to an even higher rate and higher payment. So there's some risk, but it could also go down. So there's some benefit as well. Lines of credit. Those are all tied to prime. And the prime rate right now is 3.75%. And usually there is a margin over that rate, usually 1 or 2 percentage points. With a line of credit, you can pay it down, charge it back up, pay it down, charge it back up. It's just an open line of credit, much like a credit card is. And all of these three products are tax deductible. So if you have a loan secured to a home or residence, the interest that you pay is available for a tax write-off on your federal tax return. So that's another very nice benefit to owning a home versus renting, is you get a nice write-off at the end of the year. You get a form from the mortgage company that says exactly how much you paid in interest that year, and that is typically 100% deductible against your income. If you want an exact answer for that, you'd want to talk to an accountant or CPA based on your specific situation. Another benefit of owning a house, by the way, is that in most cases, real estate grows in value over time. And so you, as the owner, get to keep or accrue that extra value. You actually wouldn't have access to it until you sell the house. But it's nice to know that if you bought a home for $300,000, that typically 10 years down the road, it would probably be worth upwards towards 380 or 400. So there's some nice benefits involved in home ownership. Chris wanted me to also talk about some flexibility in financing. So choosing between a fixed rate loan and a variable rate loan or an adjustable, variable and adjustable, same product, is that you have an opportunity to only use that money for a set period of time before your interest rate changes. So if you thought as your starter house or condo that you'd only be in it for about 3 or 4 years, you'd probably want to use a 5-year adjustable loan. Now that means that you have a loan typically for 30 years, but the interest rate is only fixed for the first 5 years of that 30-year term. Year 6, things change. How much? You don't yet know yet because it's based on the markets at that time. So using an adjustable loan can have some nice benefits if you know how long you plan to keep that house. If you plan to keep that house for a long time and interest rates are typically low, like they are now, my advice would typically be to use a 30-year fix. If you knew that you'd be upgrading after a couple of years, my advice would be to use a 5-year or a 7-year adjustable type loan. Again, it doesn't adjust until after that initial 5 or 7-year period. And most of the loans nowadays do not have any prepayment penalties, so there's nothing bad that happens if you decide to pay off your mortgage ahead of schedule or sell the house. I hope that helps. And if you have any feedback, give it to Chris and he can pass that along to me. And if you ever want to talk about these things, I've been doing this for 20 years and I'd love to be useful to you or anyone you know. My phone number, 949-720-1544. All the best to you in your future careers. Thank you for watching.